I don't think my girlfriend is sleeping with other men, but years of sexting, lying, gaslighting, broken promises, and letting guys hit on her have completely destroyed my trust. Am I being slowly cheated on? I've been going out with her for almost 4 years now, and over that time there have been a number of things that have slowly but consistently eroded my trust. I don't want to bore anyone by going into unnecessary detail or listing every single incident, so I'll try to keep it as short as possible, although even doing that, it's still going to be a bit long. What I'm describing here is exactly what happened, nothing more and nothing less. The first red flags appeared very early on in the relationship. We had only been dating for about 3 weeks when she told me that she had seen an ex at the mall. At first, that alone didn't really mean much to me. Running into an ex can happen, and I didn't feel threatened by that in itself. What stood out was what she said next. She told me that seeing him made her feel a bit of the same feeling she used to get when they were dating. Because we were still so early in the relationship, I wasn't that emotionally invested yet. I didn't feel devastated or angry, but I did feel uncomfortable and confused. I told her that it was strange she was telling me something like that at such an early stage, and that I didn't really understand why she felt the need to share it with me. She reassured me that it was just a fleeting feeling, something that surprised her and passed quickly, and that it didn't mean anything. I accepted that explanation, and over time I eventually forgot about it and moved on. About 1 or 2 months later, something else happened. She told me that she had a dream where she was holding hands with an ex, and I was leaving. This completely blindsided me. I remember reacting very strongly in the moment, asking her why on earth she would tell me something like that. I explained that I understood dreams are often meaningless, random, and out of our control. I have strange dreams myself, but that sharing a dream like that felt unnecessary and hurtful. I told her that unless she actually wanted to break up with me to go back to this person, I didn't see any reason for her to tell me about it. Even though it didn't sit right with me, I went against my better judgment and decided to let it go as well. Some time after that, we were hanging out together and talking casually when she mentioned that she had gone out with an ex-colleague to have a chat and catch up on things. The way she described it made it sound very normal and harmless. I had the impression that this was someone she'd known for a long time, maybe an old friend from work, so I didn't think much of it at the time. I didn't feel concerned or suspicious, and I didn't question it. I simply accepted what she said and moved on. Much later on, however, I eventually found out that this wasn't actually the case. The man she went out with wasn't someone she'd known for years, or an old colleague she'd kept in touch with. He was someone she had only met recently. Learning that after the fact changed how I viewed the situation. It wasn't necessarily the act of meeting up that bothered me as much as the way it had been presented to me at the time. The information I was given initially made it seem far more innocent than it really was, and that realization stuck with me. Later on, there was another incident that stuck with me and added to the growing sense that something wasn't right. One day we were at the mall together, just sitting at a table, killing time. At some point, she got up to go to the bathroom and left her phone on the table in front of me. I wasn't trying to snoop, and I didn't pick up her phone or unlock it, but while it was sitting there, a message notification popped up on the screen. I noticed immediately that it was from some guy. I don't remember exactly what the message said word for word, but I remember the feeling it gave me. Something about it felt off. It didn't read like a neutral or professional message, and it definitely didn't feel like something a random acquaintance would send. That uneasy feeling sat with me until she came back. Once she returned, I asked her about it. At first, she brushed it off and acted like it was nothing worth discussing. But the more I questioned her, the more inconsistencies appeared. After a lot of back and forth, she finally admitted that the guy was someone she used to sex with before she knew me. She emphasized that they had never met in person, as if that somehow made it less serious. That admission raised even more questions for me. I asked her why she would reply to him at all. If they had that kind of history, even if it was only online, then surely he must have known she was in a relationship by now. I couldn't understand why she would entertain communication with someone like that when she was supposedly committed to me. What made it worse was something she had told me earlier in our relationship. She had previously said that I was the first guy she had ever sexted with. Realizing that this was now clearly untrue meant that she had been lying to me from the start. In that moment, it felt like she had casually confessed to having lied throughout our entire relationship up to that point. She tried to downplay it by saying that he had just messaged her and that she hadn't initiated anything. Once again, I chose to give her the benefit of the doubt. I told her that while I didn't like it, I would try to move past it, but I was very clear that she shouldn't be entertaining conversations with someone like that at all. To me, it was a clear boundary. Then, about 2 years into the relationship, another situation came up that really tested where those boundaries actually stood. One morning, I was getting ready for work and casually asked her what her plans were for the day. She told me she was going to the park with a colleague from work to ride bikes. From the way she said it, it was just the two of them. Immediately, that didn't sit right with me. I told her that I thought it was inappropriate and that, in my opinion, she was crossing a boundary by going out alone with another guy she had just met at work while being in a relationship. I tried to explain that it wasn't about control, but about respect and mutual boundaries. She dismissed my concerns entirely and accused me of being a control freak. That accusation hurt, especially because I know for a fact she wouldn't be okay with the same situation if the roles were reversed. She gets very jealous when I go out with an old friend of mine, a friend who isn't even interested in men. Despite that, my concerns were brushed off as unreasonable. There's also a moment that still stands out clearly in my memory. We were once watching Midnight in Paris together, and during the movie she commented on how disrespectful it was for the female character to go out with another guy. She said the character was obviously cheating. She felt strongly enough about it to say it out loud, and I remember thinking at the time how firm her stance was on that kind of behavior. That's part of what made this situation feel so hypocritical to me. While the movie portrayed a woman repeatedly going out alone with another man, and my girlfriend only did it once, the principle felt the same. It wasn't about frequency, it was about boundaries and respect. I wasn't happy with the situation at all. I felt dismissed, disrespected, and made to feel like my boundaries didn't matter. It escalated to the point where I tried to break up with her over it. In that moment, she promised me it wouldn't happen again. Later on, there was another situation that stayed with me and added even more weight to everything that had already happened. I had gotten a gig as a wedding photographer and thought it would be a good idea to ask her to come along with me. I told her she could help me record some moments, assist here and there, and just be part of the experience. She accepted happily, and at the time it felt good. It felt like something couples do, supporting each other, sharing moments, being a team.
During the wedding, I was busy doing my job.
I was moving around constantly, focusing on angles, lighting, timing, and trying not to miss important moments. At some point during the night, while scanning the room between shots, I noticed a guy talking to her. At first, I didn't think too much of it. Weddings are social environments, people talk, people joke, and she's naturally friendly. But as I kept an eye on the situation, something about it started to feel off. I noticed that he had bought her a cocktail, which she was drinking. He was standing close to her, laughing, clearly focused on her. Then I saw him invite her outside to smoke some weed with him. She was laughing along, smiling, and seemed completely comfortable in the interaction. From where I was standing, it was obvious to me that this guy was hitting on her. Watching that unfold while I was working made my stomach sink. It didn't feel innocent, and it didn't feel respectful. I walked over to them and put my hand on her waist, not aggressively but deliberately, to make it clear that we were together. I told her that we had some things to do, and that I needed her help. As soon as I did that, the guy looked awkward, mumbled something, and walked away. The shift in his behavior confirmed what I already knew. Once he was gone, I asked her directly if that guy had been hitting on her. She laughed and said yes, almost like it was obvious and not a big deal. That reaction surprised me. I asked her why she would accept a drink from a guy she knew was hitting on her. To me, that crossed a line. It wasn't about being friendly, it was about encouraging attention from someone who clearly had intentions. Her response frustrated me even more. She said she didn't know why she accepted the drink, and that it didn't matter. That answer felt dismissive, like my feelings didn't carry any weight. I tried to explain how it looked from my perspective and why it bothered me, but I didn't feel like it was really landing. Later that night, after everything had settled and we were away from the crowd, I made the decision to break up with her. I felt embarrassed, disrespected, and emotionally drained. I was tired of constantly having to justify why certain situations made me uncomfortable. She begged me to stay. She cried uncontrollably, panicked, and at one point almost threw up from how upset she was. Even then, I didn't accept her apologies. A few days later, though, I started second-guessing myself. I told myself that maybe the guy had blindsided her, that maybe she was just trying not to be rude, that maybe I had overreacted. I replayed the situation over and over in my head and eventually convinced myself to give her another chance. I accepted her apologies, and we got back together. Then, just a few weeks ago, another incident happened that brought all of this back to the surface. I asked her what she was doing, and she told me she was delivering pizza with a colleague. She works in the kitchen, so that immediately raised questions. I asked her why she was doing deliveries instead of kitchen work, and she explained that there wasn't much to do at the moment and that this guy had invited her to come along, so she accepted. That made me angry. It felt like a direct contradiction of the promises she had made before, promises about boundaries and about situations like this not happening again. I told her she wasn't keeping her word. She got defensive and said things like we aren't living in the 19th century anymore, implying that my concerns were outdated or controlling. The next day, she apologized. Once again, I accepted her apology. I really don't know what to do at this point. I keep going back and forth in my head, trying to convince myself that things aren't as bad as they feel, but then something else happens or another memory surfaces, and I'm right back where I started. I honestly don't think she's actually having sex with any of these guys. Deep down, I don't believe that's what's going on. But at the same time, I feel like she's completely walking all over me. It feels like she's playing a dangerous game by allowing these men to flirt with her, not shutting it down and repeatedly putting herself in situations that are ambiguous at best and disrespectful at worst. What really gets to me is the double standard. If I were the one going out alone with coworkers, accepting drinks from women who were clearly hitting on me, or inviting them out for joints and casual hangouts, it would be completely outrageous to her. I know she wouldn't tolerate it. She gets jealous easily, and she's made that very clear over the years. Yet when it's her doing these things, I'm made to feel like I'm overreacting or being unreasonable. On top of that, she doesn't keep her promises. Every time we have a serious conversation, there's an apology and reassurance that it won't happen again. And then, sooner or later, something else happens. Maybe not exactly the same thing, but close enough that it triggers all the same doubts and pain. And then there are the lies. The sexting thing was just one example, but it wasn't the only secret. Every new revelation makes me question how much I really know and how much has been hidden from me. I know she can be extremely naive and immature. I've always known that about her. If these things were isolated incidents, I might have been able to look past them. I could have chalked them up to bad judgment or inexperience. But they're not isolated. There's a clear pattern, and I can't ignore it anymore. I kept hoping she would grow up, become more serious, and understand boundaries better as time went on. I told myself that love requires patience and that people change. But I'm reaching my limit. I feel worn down. I feel like I'm constantly waiting for the next issue to come up. I love her a lot, and that's what's kept me here for so long. But at the same time, it feels like every part of me is telling me to let her go. Right now, I'm back in my hometown, spending time with my family while we deal with some inheritance issues. Being away from her has given me space to think, maybe too much space. Once this is done, I'll have to go back to the city where we live together, and I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. I studied an arts career, and it hasn't worked out financially the way I hoped. I've been seriously considering going back to college, but if I do that, I'll have to stay with my family, and the relationship would essentially be over. I'm almost 30, and I feel like I don't have much time left to make mistakes like this. I love her, but I'm terrified that if we get married and start a family, all of this unresolved stuff is going to explode later, when the consequences will be much worse. I don't want to look back one day and regret not listening to my instincts, but I also don't want to walk away purely out of fear. Right now, I feel completely stuck, torn between holding on to someone I love and letting go before things get even more complicated. What should I do? I am frustrated accepting her apologies again and again, forgiving her again and again every time. I love her the most, but it's getting harder on me day by day, finding cheating kind of things, emotional affairs kind of things. Any kind of advice can be helpful. How can I leave her? What can be done so that it would not be that hard for my heart to take on? Any kind of advice is welcomed, please do. Thank you for listening till here.